So, you want to write a story that's different than the world you live in now. Well, I got three things that I think could help with that: time, inversion, and a brand new world entirely. Now, of course, the latter is kind of obvious, but just see where I'm going. Now, when I say time, I'm referring to more of a period piece. Um, Taking your setting and starting it within a specific period that hasn't been explored before. A really good example of this, I think, is the latest Predator movie, Prey. It takes place in what I believe is the colonizational period of America, with the Native American tribes, and it's not a time period that's been explored in any Predator movie prior to it. You're not exactly trying to find a time period that's never been explored before at all, because that's going to be probably close to impossible. However, you're trying to find something that really hasn't been explored in your genre or your subject that you're talking about. So with Prey, they were allowed to take their main character, the Predator, still, and put it in a completely different world while it was still Earth. It was still literally the world that we're used to, but it was a different time period. So now your character has new tools, new benefits, new obstacles before it within this new world. And the only thing that changed was the time period. Now, the second thing I'll say is inversion. Now, when I'm saying inversion, I mean really just inverting the things that you know in our reality for your reality on paper. For example, you can change up the physics, you can change up how time works, you can change up how weather works completely on your new planet. Also, you can change up historical events. These little things, or they might be looked at as big things, can create a huge impact again on your world. So let's say, for example, in your world, you say that the events of a particular war in our history went completely different. Um, this gives you a whole new playground. Or let's say it's something with the physics and you say that gravity works completely different here on this earth. You're still keeping it earth, so everything else is familiar, but for whatever reason buildings float and people hop around the sidewalk to get where they need to go to. By simply inverting different parts of reality as we know it now, you don't have to come up with this brand new world, but you basically are creating a new world just by doing that alone, because that allows your audience to immediately be thrown into something that's completely unfamiliar to them. Yes, again, the simple things of the world might be familiar to them. There's blue water, there's green grass. However, the bigger things that they know that shapes their reality is now thrown out the window. See, that gives you a whole new world, a whole new landscape to play around with. And lastly, of course, just creating a brand new world. However, I saved this one for last because I honestly think you could take the previous two things that we talked about and combine them together to create this brand new world. So, for example, you can choose a time period. Maybe it's in the future, for this brand new world, while inverting certain things that we know in our reality. So instead of one sun, it's two suns. And maybe the suns, instead of heating up the planet, they're really just constantly melting the planet, because every time it makes a cycle, it freezes until it turns back towards the sun. These little things can just make a huge difference for your world. And so now you can create this brand new thing without getting lost in this huge pot of different ideas that are stirring around trying to create your brand new world. You can have starting points. Again, starting with the time period you want to choose, starting with the inverting of science or inverting of history compared to our own world. And then you can just work out the fewer details afterwards, like where is it located in the galaxy or things like that, or how creatures work and things of that sort, but you have a starting point with the first two. So, as you see, from the settings that you put in place, you can take your story and put a completely different twist on it. Let me give you an example. Let's say you're doing essentially not Red Riding Hood, but Robin Hood himself. But you want to change things up. You don't want to tell the exact same story of Robin Hood stealing from the rich to give to the poor, yada yada. You want to change it up a little bit. So in your world, it's not as simple as him fighting soldiers or maybe knights and breaking into castles. In your world, dinosaurs still exist. Um, but also he is stealing from an alien species that overtook the planet a few years ago, and he's stealing resources for them to give to Earthlings who now become poor in their economic value compared to aliens ruling everything. So now you have a twist on your world altogether. You have inverted time. Dinosaurs are still alive. Well, in our reality, they're extinct. You have a different taste on the world in itself with the aliens taking over and things like that. Um, and your time period, well, we haven't even gotten to that yet. Your time period could be right in the 21st century. It's not in the future like a lot of cyberpunk genres try to kind of use the same, Robin Hood take on things where they're stealing from corporations and giving to the poor. So it's not exactly in the future. It's not deep in the past. It's in the 21st century, but a whole new twist. Now your world feels completely foreign to your reader, and they can go into it with this brand new take on the Robin Hood story in itself. So basically, don't get frustrated with trying to figure out, well, what's going to be the perfect world and how am I going to create this setting to make my stuff just stand out. Try these steps, for example, if they work for you. Try these different tactics. These are something that I do whenever I'm trying to put a twist on it, whether it's for a campaign with friends or writing or trying out a new story that I want to put down on paper. I try these different things and it works for me. It helps me kind of get my juices flowing once again. And that's the whole purpose of this channel. Is just trying to help other people who might have a struggle with getting into their imagination access that. Shoot, I feel like I'm really good at getting to my imagination, but I still need these different steps to help get those motors going. So try these, be yourself, and enjoy the playground that you created.